Evening all, welcome to Kicking Dust. Right, today we're going to just do some gunning and blah blah blah. I mean, there's no real reason, we're just shooting stuff because, hey, it's fun. What we're going to do today is talk about maybe some vehicle discussions. Now, vehicles are obviously a very, very interesting topic at the moment for many reasons, because it's debatable how maybe Legion will take vehicles into it. But we're not going to speculate too much about that, but what we're going to talk about is maybe what has Dust achieved with its vehicles, and hopefully what will that mean then for the future. And so let's start. I mean, for me, let's start with dropships. Dropships, to me, they were the reason I got into Dust. I was Josh and Lord Porter were playing Dust, and they were like, "Dude, you got to come see this. You got to come see this." And I'm like, "What? What is it?" And they're like, "Oh, it's an Eve shooter." And I was like, "Ha lol." But then I think I saw a video of a dropship, or a picture maybe, even just a picture. And then they were like, "Dude, you can get in that and you can gun from it, and it's like awesome, and you're like crazy, it's amazing." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm sold." And I downloaded it and I started playing. And the first thing I actually did was try and get into a dropship and fly dropships. And back then, I know you won't believe this, but back then you can actually do it with mouse and keyboard. It was actually more than possible. And we certainly did that. In our 2013 retrospective, the one we ended the year with, the very first footage you see in that is me taking off in the dropship back when afterburners were brilliant. And that was actually that was almost like the first time I'd ever flown a dropship as well. So fun stuff. What was interesting, I think, as well with the whole piece around vehicles and dropships particularly, was they were ridiculously good. You could just sit above the map in a crappy Viper and you could just shoot down, and every missile went exactly where the cursor said, and you just annihilated people. Now with this, I think what we've got here is balance, because you've got 3 people in this dropship, all with Python level 5 and level 4. You know, that they are top skilled, skill pointed players in these concepts. So this is why it kind of works. Whereas back then you could just be anybody, get in the gun and kill people. It was kind of stupid. Let's look at tanks. I mean, tanks are interesting, I think, as well, because I think the tanks in Dust are actually some of the best tanks I've ever played. I did a lot of tanking in Battlefield 3 and 4, and I liked them. I thought they were good, but they always felt very plasticky, and particularly PlanetSide. I think PlanetSide really did. They went too far with their vehicle creation piece, because they just made everything feel like it was made out of plastic and balsa wood with a little bit of hemp thrown in there, and it just felt crap. And that's why, for me, they didn't feel great. Okay, they felt terrible, in fact. But in Dust, they've always made tanks feel quite good. I mean, tanks do actually feel quite strong, tough, heavy, powerful things, and I always quite like that. I always thought they did that quite well. Tanks, in terms of their weaponry, though, definitely does need a bit of work. Railguns are still a little bit too good, I think. So I think moving forward, the railgun should be like the artillery round in PlanetSide 2, which has a much less accurate shot, so it does deviate, and I think the railgun should deviate a little bit. Missiles on tanks are obviously a nice feature. They seem to work quite well. Very powerful stuff. I think that's quite exciting. And obviously the blaster's the blaster, and what can you say about it? It's kind of an anti-infantry weapon, and it's a good thing. I would love to see more turrets come through, like a shotgun version of the blaster, which just fires a spray, and it's an anti-person, so it will do no damage to tanks at all, but it will like completely shred infantry. And heavy lasers, laser heavy turrets, things like that. These are all things that I really would love to see coming through, and I think hopefully we do in Legion, because there's just so much. I don't know. There's so much kind of cool promise and potential with more vehicle choices in other games. And I think certainly when it comes to Dust, they did a great job with what they had, but they never. I mean, again, we had all of these weapons from the word go. Nothing new came in. At least I can't think of anything new that came in. LAVs. I mean, LAVs are an interesting one for me, because LAVs are just not really needed in this game. Kind of needed for heavies, but they're just not really used. You don't use scouts. Scouts don't use them to get around and scout the map. They just use them to run over people. So that didn't work. Logi LLVs were not used to repair and support infantry, because that was a terrible idea, and they got removed. The normal LAV is a nice idea. I like it. I think it makes sense. But again, the maps aren't big enough for it to be even needed. So again, I would say not a good idea. Let's talk about the medium assault vehicle. We never saw it, but that could be something that maybe comes through if the map's going to get bigger in Legion. I think there's probably still a requirement for it, but we'll see. So there we go. Post in the comments. Tell me what you think in terms of vehicles. Good, bad, crap, good, whatever. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.